welcome to the Tunnel Podcast on an evening where I've got two knockout guests. In the blue and white corner, we've got Laurie Finlayson. Laurie, how are you doing?
Good, Robert. Thank you for having me on, or indeed having me in the tunnel.
No, listen, delighted to have you on, mate. It's a pleasure. And in the red corner, we've got Aaron Jones, a familiar face. How you doing, Aaron? Okay?
Good. I'm glad my voice is better now.
Yeah, it is actually. Yeah, that's it. You sound your age now. You sound like an old man when we had you on before. Listen, delighted to have you both on. As I say, we have part of the European stuff, or the Euro stuff, should we say, as much as we enjoyed it. We're now on a domestic focus, and we're going to start tonight with the Scottish Premiership. Two sides, and relative success at the moment. Actually, we've got Aberdeen under a new era with Jimmy Thelin, and we've got Kilmarnock heading into Europe under Derek McInnes as well. So lots to go through. Let's start with you then, Laurie, because you're at the top of my screen. So, listen, for people who maybe haven't seen, Kilmarnock are obviously back in Europe. A draw against, Cercle Bruges. Is it CSV? Is that how you pronounce it? And it's coming thick and fast. I think you played a pre-season game the other night there down at Somerset Park. Your closest rivals didn't really go to plan, but I'm sure we'll delve into that a bit more. For anyone who hasn't seen the draw, can you tell us a little bit about Kilmarnock's opponents and maybe what they're up against next week?
Yeah, so Cercle Bruges, as you say, so they're not the team that everyone thinks of. Everyone keeps mistaking them for Club Bruges, acting as Club Bruges' rivals. The only thing that's really similar about them is they share a stadium. So Cercle Bruges are kind of one of these teams in Belgium who are decent enough, but they don't often win the league or anything because they're held back by the likes of Club Bruges or Anderlecht. There is a striker they have who's getting a lot of hype at the moment. I can't think of his first name now. Denky is his surname, Denky. And I think he was like 20 odd goals last season, and it's kind of been linked with moves away. But I think they're one of these teams that maybe we are quite fortunate because they're one of the more potentially beatable teams that we could have got in this Europa qualifying round. I mean, it could have been Ajax, which would have been cool, but I think Killie would have got hiding.
Are you still scarred from the last time you went into Europe? Obviously, it was Connor's Key Nomads that time, and you didn't last too long in a European adventure, albeit just down to Wales.
Yeah, still a wee bit scarred by that, Robert. Yeah, because I mean, for me, that's been my Connor's Key is my only experience thus far of Killie in Europe, and I mean, I imagine a lot of fans, maybe of a similar age to me, are in that same boat. So hopefully, we can at least right some wrong, and at least this time we're guaranteed kind of two bites at the cherry. Because if we lose to Cercle, we will go into the third qualifying round of the Conference League. So at least getting two bites at it this time, and at least it's abroad.
Well, that's it, exactly. Aaron, let's come to you, actually, because obviously you would have sampled Conference League football last season with Aberdeen, albeit under a different guise with Barry Robson. What can it actually do for the club in terms of profile and bringing sort of away fans into the city as well?
It's massive for the club and the fans as well. As we played BK Häcken last year, I think it was a sold-out Pittodire, so the atmosphere would be absolutely amazing in Kilmarnock for the first leg. And I think for the club as well, it'd be massive just to get in Europe back under Derek McInnes. And I think Killie should do okay, and they should be going to it confident.
Absolutely. There were the dark horses, you have to say, last season, certainly. Having brought them back up, maybe a bit of a struggle in his first season back, but he certainly built a decent side last year, and they've added to that as well. Laurie, you see Bruce Anderson's come in and Robin McCrory coming in last week. It's just small tweaks at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's been a case of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, really. I mean, last summer, it was a bit of a rebuild, and the rebuild went incredibly well. I remember people were always saying to me that Killie have, won the summer transfer window last year, and arguably we did. But the thing is, this year, it's been kind of evolution rather than revolution. But I mean, the signings we've made are all really solid, good ones on paper. So I mean, Bruce Anderson he managed to get double figures for a pretty poor Libby team last year. Robbie McCrory, I think, will do pretty well to prove himself as a Premiership #1, despite kind of struggling at Somerset Park last week, as you alluded to. But at the end of the day, Rowan McCrory will settle into being a good goalkeeper. And then obviously we've managed to keep Stuart Brown for another year on loan from Oxford, which I think another good signing. And I don't think there'll be too much more to come business wise. I think we probably need another fullback or two and a left back for sure. Because it doesn't look like Corey Daba's coming back, despite what newspaper report was saying a few weeks ago. So maybe need to work on that one. But I mean, we're in a pretty good place.
Just on Derek McInnes then, because obviously they get relegated. McInnes comes in. People are maybe shocked that he's taken the job there, having bided his time after leaving Aberdeen. He's kind of got a hold of the squad now. You can see a style of play, certainly with the wide players and Vassell up top. Is your fear, how does he sort of go one better this season? Because Kilmarnock realistically is the aim now to go and chase Hearts, or just have a good run in Europe or a good run in the Cup?
I think it's more, as you say, maybe have a decent run in Europe or even the Cup, because Cups is something that we as a club have underperformed in recent time. It's something that Derek often alludes to. I mean, of course, Derek McInnes did manage to lead Killie to Hampden. With that being the start of 2023, we made the League Cup semi-final. But it's generally speaking, Killie are a team that hadn't had a cup run in a long time. And I know, and Aaron will be able to allude to this with Aberdeen. As much as they had a poor season in the league last year, he didn't do too badly in the cups, and that would be nice for Killie. In terms of for this season, it's going to be difficult because I don't really know if we've quite got the squad to manage Thursday Sunday every week. And again, Aberdeen's probably the prime example of how potentially qualifying for European football proper can kind of curtail your league season and ruin your league season a bit. So hopefully we do well. I'd be happy enough with a top 6 finish this year, and maybe a run in the cup would be nice.
And a group stage in the Europa Conference or the Europa League, yeah.
That would, I don't expect it, but it would be lovely. I think if anything, it's going to be conference if anything. But I mean, if we can get into the Conference League proper and still finish top 6, I'd be delighted with that.
Yeah, I think that would be great for Scottish football. It's nice to see clubs getting into the group stages. Aaron, you obviously, as I say, would have experienced that last year. Just as Laurie says there, how difficult is that balance going from Thursday to Sunday? And especially for the clubs that are obviously not got the backing the old firm have, and trying to sort of manage a squad and keep them fit for those games.
Obviously, Aberdeen struggled playing on a Thursday night and then Sunday, as you can see by our league finish. But I think if you get more players, if you get the squad depth, you could be able to manage it. But it's just about fitness, because we had a few injuries during that Conference League run in the group stage, and it is tough to balance both. But I think if you do not get Europe, I think you'll do better in the league, and I think that's what Aberdeen would do this season.
We've got a comment in from one of the other pundits we have on, Tom Goff. He's just saying there, Laurie, great to see McInnes doing so well. A West Brom legend and one of his favourite ever baggage players. Laurie, is that the thing? I listened to Derek after the game last week. He was just sort of saying the only positive was getting sort of minutes into the players' legs. He did, however, though, go on to highlight the forward players, and in particular Bruce Anderson, as you mentioned. He did praise Vassell as well. She said Marley Watkins was a bit behind the rest of them. Is it the other areas of the park, as you highlighted, the fullback areas, that there's just he maybe needs to get one or two more bodies in and see if we can manage this massive task of getting Kilmarnock into Europe?
Yeah, absolutely. A few more bodies would do it nicely. I mean, going forward, we do look pretty solid, as you say. We've got Anderson, who just came in. You've got Kyle Vassell, who should be pretty good this year, having just undergone surgery, because you may notice as a fan of our clubs that Kyle Vassell was never the most naturally fit because he spent basically the entirety of last season playing through an injury. So this year, Kyle was able to have the shackles off. And then obviously as well, attacking wise, you've got obviously strikers like Ennis Cameron and young Bobby Wales to give other options. Then obviously Matty Kennedy and Danny Armstrong on either side. Hopefully we can get hold of Armstrong or at least get to the bottom of that one because he's got a year left on his.
What's going on there? Because is it right? Am I right in saying that he rejected an offer from the club?
It kind of sounds like he might have rejected it, yes. We definitely did put an offer on the table. It does sound like we've at least hit some sort of roadblock. So he's potentially rejected an offer. The club have rejected a £400,000 bid from Bolton Wanderers as well. I don't really know how highly we value and indeed can value Danny Armstrong at this point because obviously with only a year left on his deal, you probably do have to sell him kind of cheap if he's going to go anywhere. Although saying that, how much was it Motherwell managed to get for Theo Bear yesterday? And again, he only had a year left on his contract. It was well over £1 million. I think it was up to £2 million in add-ons, right?
Yeah, exactly, and that's a point we have to sort of stress, Aaron, is that in Scotland we shouldn't be selling prize assets cheap.
Yeah, I think obviously with Danny Armstrong, he's a brilliant player, and I think he should go for, say, maybe over 500,000. And with Theo Bear, I don't know what the price tag was, but it said an undisclosed fee. But I'm assuming it's definitely over 1 million, maybe even 2 million, because he's a brilliant player. And obviously with the old firm, some of the players they get a lot of money for it. And I think some of these brilliant players for these teams that are not the old firm could go for a lot of money.
Laurie, just finally on Kilmarnock before we turn our attentions to Aberdeen. Obviously, we've got the two European games. I think there's a couple of friendly sandwiched in there, Barrow and Annan, I believe. And then it's that, obviously, the flag will be unfurled at Celtic Park as you travel to Parkhead to entertain the champions. Is that a daunting task at the minute, given that Celtic, they haven't really strengthened, but I don't think they really had to at this point?
Yeah, it's quite daunting a daunting prospect to be at Celtic Park on Flag Day. Definitely, I mean, especially coming off the back of our second leg in Bruges. So that is going to be a tough ask on opening day, definitely.
Okay then, Aaron, let's come up to Pittodire. You must be sitting there smiling after Saturday. You get the first glimpse competitively of your new manager and his new look side. What were your first impressions?
Personally, I didn't watch the game because I was on the way back from Elgin, but I seen the highlights and I thought we played brilliantly. I think there was a couple of moments where Queen of the South had good chances and penetrated us, but I think we mostly controlled the possession and the chances. And I think obviously some players like Esther Sotclair, the striker, there's some good signs coming from him, considering he's not our first choice striker. And it's a shame that we didn't have Miovski. I don't know what was going on there. But if we had him, then could have possibly absolutely smashed them. But I think the new signings, Molloy, the centre back, and Nilsson, the midfielder, showed some very good signs.
Yeah, let's focus actually on Soccer, because it's no secret Bojan Majovski's attracting interest. Number of clubs on the continent. The latest thing is Bologna that were linked just last week. It'll take something astonishing for him to stay at Pittodire this season. You've got to say, but Esther Soccer comes in, and he really took to the field. He gave a glowing reference on himself, and sort of put a marker down really that he wants to be the number one striker for this season.
And yeah, Jimmy Thelin said in his interview he's been seeing positive signs from Sotclair in training as well. And obviously, all Aberdeen fans want to prefer Miovski up front, but it looks like he'll leave. There's been rumours of Bologna, there's been Leeds, there's been Middlesbrough, Celtic, the old firm, Rangers as well. And if he does leave, I think Sotclair is probably the preferred choice. You've also got Peter Hambro's new signing, who has been looking good. But I think Sotclair, he showed last season as well. I think he scored 4 goals in pre-season. I think he scored about 6 in total pre-season last year. So he's scored. He's used to scoring goals up front. But I don't think he's as good as Miovski. But I would prefer him first choice if Miovski leaves.
Laurie, how important is that when you've got, your prized asset being, tempted away from the club, that you've got somebody in reserve that can step up and can provide you with the ammunition, because strikers are so hard to find?
Yeah, it's really important, as you say, Robert. Like almost every club is looking for a striker, and you say it's hard to get. It's easy to find a bad one, but getting a good one's a bit more challenging. I mean, Esther Soccer specifically. I mean, whenever whenever I was whenever I saw him or saw Aberdeen, I always thought maybe he struggled to take chances and whatever. But I think you saw kind of flashes of a good player, but it was just someone who you could tell needed the minutes, but obviously wasn't getting that with Miovski and the team. So do you think, Aaron, if Bojan Miovski does leave, which is looking increasingly likely, would you feel confident with Stockler up front this coming season?
That's a tough one, because I think these cup games will really decide if we would start Sockler. If Miovski leaves, these cup games are very important, especially for Sockler, because we didn't see much of him last season, but we did see some of the good signs from him, especially when he played with Miovski. But we'll have to see from these cup games if we want to start Sockler for the league.
Okay, you did touch on new addition, Hilton Nielsen, who I actually watched the game on Saturday. I came in, I'd been out doing a bit of ducking and diving in the afternoon with the wife. Came in and stuck it on and relaxed with a cup of tea. So interesting to see, actually, he sort of played a little bit deeper, and it gave Graham Shinnie a new lease of life at, like, what is he, 32, 33? I think maybe even be older than that. Forgive me if I don't know his birthday there, but certainly, Aaron, it was Shinnie that was busting forward. Obviously gets his goal as well.
Hilton Nielsen and Shinnie are pretty much identical players, both really passionate.
Oh, we've lost him. Midpoint, you're back,
Sorry
you're all
about
right.
He's back.
They've also both obviously played very good on Saturday, and I think Hilton Nielsen playing in that CDM position gives Shinnie the right to push forward and obviously get that brilliant goal that he scored. And I think Nielsen, people didn't like him when he came in. He thought he's just going to go right through players. But I think he showed some very good signs on Saturday.
Absolutely, certainly. You touched on Peter Ambrose. He came on, looked really hungry for a goal. But one signing that I think that's maybe gone under the radar that could be really massive for Aberdeen this season, Aaron, is Dimitar Mitov. We saw last year just how important he was for St Johnstone. I'd go on record saying if they didn't have him, they could have been going down. He was that inspirational. You've managed to get him in. He gets a clean sheet at the weekend. Oh, he's gone again. No worries. Laurie, I'll come to you on that then. Dimitar Mitov, he must have caught your eye as well, as an opposition, fan.
Yeah, Dimitar Mitov really did. He was excellent for St Johnstone last season. I mean, if it wasn't for him, there is a solid chance they could have maybe at least went into the playoff. I mean, Livingston were pretty much rooted to the bottom, but Mitov was excellent for St Johnstone last season. A really good signing for Aberdeen, because Kilrue, at least for me, from the outside looking in, Kilrue was a bit of a weak link. Sorry, Aaron, but yeah.
What do you think that then, Aaron? We've got you back. Glad you've came back, mate. Really, I was praying there. Dimitar Mitov, as I say, slightly gone under the radar. Could be a massive signing this season.
I've seen some highlights from St Johnstone. He looks a really, really good player, and I think he's a very good replacement for Kelly Roos, because far to say, last season he was terrible. Every time he would have a goal kick, punt it straight out into Rosette. But I think with Mitov, what he would do, he would keep clean sheets against some pretty good teams, and the saves he pulls off is absolutely amazing. So I think he's a very good signing.
Hard for me to say as an outsider looking in, it must be hard for you not to get carried away. Jimmy Thelin's giving off really good vibes. Seems to have a good grasp of the squad. People seem to be buying into what he's doing. Everyone except Duke not returned, would appear, from pre-season. Seems to be digging his heels in for a move. What do you make of all that? I
think it's disgraceful what Duke's doing. I think, yes, it's clear that him and his agent want to move away, but you just show up to training. It's not very hard. We still don't know where he is. He could be chilling on the beach in Ibiza, or he could be out in Aberdeen, but we don't know what's going on.
Two very different experiences, Aaron, you've just mentioned there.
Yeah. But I think, I don't know, we don't know what's going to happen with Duke. I think he's either going to, I think he might leave, because there's been clubs rumoured, but again, Duke last season wasn't great as well. But I think the signs that he's showing, him not turning back to training, just shows where his heart is.
Yeah, Laurie, it's a point Aaron makes well there, actually, that Duke, not last season, but season before, really explosive, looked at a good prospect. Majowski then sort of takes the mantle and sort of runs with it, and Duke's nose maybe being put out of joint. Looked to me as well, on a couple of occasions, he was maybe carrying a bit of weight, Alfredo Morelos style, if you don't mind me saying. But now he's not returned to pre-season training, and it looks like it's a real, Jimmy Thelin said himself, it's now an internal matter.
Yeah, it's not a good look on Duke's part at all. I mean, I think the fact that you're a new manager who you've given a terrible first impression to, by the way, is calling it an internal disciplinary matter. I think that gives you an idea of where his future might lie. Of course, he wants to leave Aberdeen anyway, and chances are he will. But even if a club doesn't come knocking for Duke, what are the chances that Jimmy Thelin just freezes them out? Because you don't really want kind of bad eggs or bad influences in your squad, do you?
Absolutely not. Not a point well made. Aaron, you're in a group with Queen of the South, East Kilbride, Dumbarton and Airdrie. You've got to be coming out that on top, right?
But seeing that result last night from Airdrie Unions, 8-0, I just couldn't believe it. I think the toughest game would probably be Airdrie Unions, because they're a brilliant side. But we've got East Kilbride on Saturday. I'm hoping for 10, but I don't want to get too optimistic. But
your last outing against a lone league side didn't fare too well under Jim Goodwin. Just remember that one, okay?
Yeah, we're just not going to talk about that. I'm not going to talk about that. But I think we should win. We should win the group. We're favourites. But you just never know. Some of these sides we haven't faced in a long while, they just could come up and surprise you. But I think with the players we've got, we should cruise through this group.
Laurie, is it a case that the Premier Sports Cup, this group stage, it's a no-win situation for the bigger sides, if you will? If they get through, it's expected, and if they don't, it can be a tricky start to the season.
Yeah, I think no-win situation sums it up quite well, because I mean, with Kilmarnock, I've been there where we've not walked through. I remember the first year that the League Cup group stages came in, Killie didn't get through the group, having lost to Greenock Morton, and we lost on penalties to Albion Rovers, it was. But a lot of the Premiership sides can underestimate, the low league opposition, and it can come back to bite them. And obviously, as Aaron touched upon, with Aberdeen coming up against Airdrie, who look a really good side, by the way, and Rhys McCabe, who's probably comfortably the youngest manager in the SPFL, and of course is technically still a player. He is doing some job there. But the better clubs cannot underestimate some of this low league opposition. And also, Aaron, just a wee note on when you play East Kilbride, and Robert touched upon Aberdeen's last experience with effectively non-league opposition. Just look at who East Kilbride's manager is as well. Just saying.
Okay. Aaron, you'll open the season in Perth. Obviously, St Johnstone under new ownership. American owners come in there. Is that a potential banana skin, or do you see Aberdeen getting off to a real strong start, something that they obviously didn't manage to do last season?
I think we should. We're obviously favourites to win, but you just never know with St Johnstone. Like one minute they're just terrible, 1 minute they're just brilliant. But I think we should win. But a few other years, we've not got off to the best start. But I think with Jimmy Thelin, with his backroom staff, with the players we've got, we should be able to beat St Johnstone.
Yeah, St Johnstone fighting hard to keep all the strikers at DB at the moment. Okay then, lads, I just want to get your opinion on a bigger story, sort of wider in Scottish football. Is the news obviously that Rangers are going to be starting the season at Hampden. Ibrox isn't going to be ready. Is that? I'll start with you, Laurie. Is that something you see as an advantage to the other clubs and a disadvantage to Rangers, or is it something that you think won't really matter too much in the grand scheme of things?
Well, I don't know. I'm kind of a bit torn on it because part of me says it's an advantage to our clubs because, well, Rangers aren't used to Hampden. Rangers' record at Hampden isn't brilliant. But at the same time, part of me says, well, it's not really, an advantage to our clubs because Hampden maybe has an issue for the smaller clubs, which you could argue Ibrox and Parkhead do as well. But Hampden, especially with the bigger pitch, some of the clubs or some of the teams might struggle playing on that. And then if you would compare Hampden, say, ground of a tighter pitch like Tynecastle, for example, it's like, and obviously I think it, a Rangers and Hearts just play each other at Hampden. That'd be interesting to see. Um, but it's a bit torn on it. We'll see how it goes, and it's been a bit ridiculous, really, on Rangers' part that it's taken so long. But I imagine the ones that back for the first of start.
Absolutely. I think that'll probably be in the new year. Talks, I think they're saying sort of October, but I don't think the club knows themselves what that date's going to look like. Aaron, just for you then, in terms of Rangers playing at Hampden, how that may affect their ability to bring players in. You heard Philippe Clement speaking a couple of days ago about his transfer budget not being there until they maybe sell players. Again, is that something you're looking at and thinking we could get a head start on these? They're not going to be able to rejuvenate their squad nice and early?
I think there's pros and cons to it being at Hampden. I think also I've heard Rangers fans say with Hampden, the fans are quite a distance from the pitch, which could affect the atmosphere. But I think Hampden obviously has a bigger capacity than Ibrox, so I think then more Rangers fans will come into Ibrox, Hampden, which could give it a bigger atmosphere. But with Ibrox, it's not the same feeling with Hampden. With Ibrox, you're right close to the pitch, and the atmosphere is just buzzing. But I think Rangers play Ross County and Motherwell first 2 games at home. Very, very winnable games from Rangers. But I think this whole Asia material thing's just a disaster for them, especially with a new season, especially with Clement's first full season as well. So I think Hampden should be okay for Rangers fans, but I don't think it'll affect the games they're playing.
Okay then, cheers. Let's get a couple of predictions off you then. I've been asked to ask you if you can. I'll start with you, Laurie. The best signing of the Scottish Premiership so far this season, one that's maybe caught your eye?
Yeah, so I think maybe for the best signing across the entire league, just thinking about now who might be the most kind of fruit kind of pick up. I think maybe probably one of the better ones would be Hearts, but I'm a bit kind of torn as to who I'd pick between Blair Smith or Jan van der Lat. Two superb. I think they're both free transfers as well. And I think maybe both of them can kind of give, goals from the midfield and the out wide, in other words, kind of reducing the reliance on Lawrence Shankland because Hearts are a lot more of a blunt object without Shankland on the side, so it's probably between those two, but I will admit I'm kind of cheating there.
And Aaron, have you got a vote for the best signing so far?
I would. This might be a bit biased, but I'll say Mitov to Aberdeen, considering how good he played at St John's. I think he got Player of the Year there as well.
Yeah.
But as Laurie touched on, Hearts bringing in Blair Spittle and Jan Danda, 2 brilliant signings on a free transfer as well, which is brilliant deal for them. They both played brilliantly last season, and I think for me, just not being biased, but Meath to Aberdeen for me.
Okay, we'll finish up on you go, Laurie, sorry.
I was just saying, Aaron, it's not biased at all. I mean, Meathoff's a fantastic thing. I mean, you'll probably make profit off that eventually.
Yeah.
So.
He'd like to think so. Okay, lads, we're going to finish just on some brief predictions. Laurie, give me a prediction for where you think Kilmarnock will finish this season and who you think will win the title.
Okay, so for Kilmarnock, I'm going to say 6th place. So we're going to sneak the top 6 finish. We're going to do it.
And who will win the title?
And as the league title, I'll give it to Celtic, but I think it will be tight again this year.
Aaron, Aberdeen going to improve on last year. Where are they going to finish this year?
I think 4th or 5th is a reasonable prediction, considering we've not got Europe. And then I think it'll be a tight title race, but I think Celtic will just do it.
There we have it. Nice half an hour you've put in there, lads. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for people commenting and watching as well. If you do like what you see, give us a wee like and subscribe on YouTube. Leave a comment or even interact with us on other socials on X and TikTok at the Tunnel Pod UK. It'd be nice to hear from you. We'll be back next week, I believe. There's a championship show with Tom Goff at the helm. We've also got a special guest coming next week as well, which will be interesting. So stay tuned for that. But thanks for watching. Thanks to my guests as well. And we will see you on the other side. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.